it's my belief, and it's my heart cry for people to really understand the depths and the profoundness of what psychologically keeps us tied to that old life, right? And when I say that old life, in that is encumbrance with all of our habits, right? The things that we do, how we think, how we feel, how we believe, how we speak, and how we perform, the actions that we take. And when we aren't happy with the life that we're living, there are behaviors, like you mentioned, there are patterns, there are action things that we're doing that are leading us to this specific life.
Let's go. You are incredible. Your body has a purpose. Your life has a purpose. You were designed to live the best life possible. Here we are again, back with another episode, and thank you so much for being faithful. Thank you to the audience for tuning in to another episode, and you're tuned in to listen, You're Not Defeated, and I'm your host, David Hernandez. As a really quick reminder, if you haven't already noticed, we've been coming out with 2 episodes each week, so make sure you click the subscribe button so you can subscribe to my channel. Click the little bell for all the notifications of our up and coming episodes so you don't miss an episode. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast station, click the follow button so you also get reminders of our new episodes. This week, we're back with another Tuesday episode. Look, every Tuesday, I've decided to reach out and be of service, as I love to do, to the community. So we've decided to do weekly Tuesday lives on Facebook, where it's a platform that you can come in, bring your questions that you've been wanting answers to. It doesn't matter what it might be surrounding, whether it's health, weight loss, binge eating, emotional eating, how to get a handle of your process to actually start now crushing it and living the life that you desire. So every Tuesday, I want to invite you. Look, the information is down there in the show notes. Go ahead and reach out every Tuesday. Jump aboard. It's a discussion that we bring insight and topics, but more importantly, we bring you wisdom and instructions that you can take action on so you can start living the best life possible. So this week we have an amazing guest who's going to be sharing her testimony. I've had the privilege of coaching her for 3 years, and she's been through so many incredible transformations, and I'm really excited for you to meet her. Her name is Cynthia Yarbrough. Many of you already might know her, but more importantly, I want you to really connect with her, because a lot of times we see the results, right? But we don't necessarily see what the person is struggling behind the scenes through her process. So I invited her so we could have a conversation, a discussion, because she had an amazing breakthrough in my 2-day conference, First Leaps to Better Health, and I wanted her to share with you all what that breakthrough was. So without further ado, let's go on in and let's enjoy this episode. I'll see you at the end. Peace. Mic check. Mic sound okay? Camera 1 good? Camera 2 good? All right, here we go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What's going on, my fellow audience members and friends and amazing viewers? It is Tuesday and we are live on Facebook. I want to just give a shout out to everyone as you guys start to connect and tune in. Please, as you are connecting, drop in the comment section and let me know where you're viewing from or where you're watching from. Today we have a powerful episode. And just like every Tuesday, I just really want to remind you, every Tuesday we have an episode here on Facebook Live. And really the whole intention about these Tuesdays is to just share insight and wisdom and strategies and information that is going to be specific for you to help you live the life that you desire. Look, I say this every time. There's a lot of information out there, but it doesn't mean it's good information if that information isn't specifically what you are needing to help you live the life that you desire. And that is why every Tuesday I've created this platform and just coming here on Facebook as a community support for you, the audience, the viewers, to let you know that you're not alone.
I've had multiple conversations with people on their health journey and in just like their lifestyle transformation journey, wanting to change their habits, change the way they eat, change their nutrition, put an end to habits that they've had that just weren't giving them the result that they wanted, the life that they wanted. And many times they shared that they felt alone. They felt as if nobody understood them. They felt as if nobody really, truly was able to connect with them and meet them where they're at. I think that's a very big thing and very important to address, because that's why I want to meet you where you're at, because I don't want you to feel this way. My childhood best friend died at the age of 21 because of these reasons, right? He felt like he couldn't fit in life. He felt like it didn't matter what he tried. He wasn't gaining success. He wasn't being the person that he wanted to feel, even though, he had people that loved him, but he wasn't getting the information he needed to start crafting the life that he desired. And because of that, his weight got out of control because of his habits, because of his food choices, because of his relationship with food, because of his psychological understanding that he had developed regarding food. And that led him to a cycle that ultimately led him to his grave. And, he got so desperate to get the weight off, and he went to get a gastric bypass surgery. 2 days later, he got an infection and he died, right? And I've shared this story multiple times, and I keep coming back to that because that is my driving force. That is the reason why I do what I do. That is the reason why I show up, to empower you, to give you hope, to give you insight that I've gained in my 15, now going on to 16 years within the health industry, helping men and women from all walks of life really take control of their life and their health. And I say it because I made a commitment in that point, that as long as I knew of somebody, or I can impact or just help somebody avoid them going through what my best friend went through, I wanted to do that. And so we fast forward, 15 years, 16 years going on, and I'm still committing to that, right? So I want you to know that I care about you. I care about your life. I care about your health, and that I am here to serve you. Okay. I'm here to serve you, to bring information with the hopes of providing value that will bring a change, right? So my goal with every episode is to bring hope to your life, but more importantly, for you to take something away that you can implement and take action with. So as many of you know, every Tuesday, I have a wonderful, amazing co-host with me. Her name is Allison Oswald, and she is a student of mine who I've had the privilege of coaching through her journey and just helping her master her eating habits and put an end to her sugar addiction and to her emotional eating, and really help her start crafting and designing the life that she wants, to lose weight, to get healthy, but more importantly, just to change her entire life. And she wasn't able to join us today. There's a really cool story that's going to come out in our next Tuesday live next week, because she's going to share something that she's living out right now. She planned a family trip, which I want her to explain it, because it's very powerful what happened in being able to get to prepare that family vacation. And it's not just like, family vacation that maybe you're familiar with. It has a very special meaning. But she's right now out in Wisconsin with her family, and they're having an amazing time. So she couldn't join us today. But nonetheless, I'm here, and I have a very, very amazing special guest with me. The guest that we're bringing on today, I've had the privilege of mentoring her, coaching her, but developing a relationship that's gone far beyond just like a mentor to student or a coach to client relationship. It's really gone deeper. And I've helped her in her journey for the past 3 years, and she's just has a tremendous testimony. And recently I had a 2-day conference that many of you might know. It was called First Leap to Better Health. which I am planning now to start having more frequently. And we're looking for different states that we can travel to really do these conferences to help you impact your life. But she attended that 2-day conference. And a lot of times you might think, oh, I've heard it all, right? Because I've coached her for 3 years. But there are special moments that as we continue to search, as we continue to want to desire to grow, and we keep searching for that growth, right? We keep searching for the information that we want that continue to help us live the life that we desire. As we keep pressing into that journey and into that process, there comes moments that we get like revelation. We get the light bulb goes off, right? We get answers that we've maybe been looking for many years. And in this process, you never will stop learning unless you choose to either quit or literally no longer take information and stop learning, right? Even me, as a coach who's been doing this for over 15 years, I continue to press in and keep researching, to keep learning and keep growing. Because I firmly believe the moment we stop growing is the moment we die, right? Maybe not physically, but figuratively, right? Mentally and in multiple areas of our life. So she had an amazing testimony that I want her to share as well about her conference. But without further ado, I want her to introduce herself, and I want you all to meet her. Many of you know her. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman who's helped impact many people's lives, one with her testimony, but also with what she does in supporting and helping others in her job line. And her name is Cynthia Yarbrough. So let's bring her in to today's episode. Cynthia, how are you, girl? How you
doing? I'm doing good. Great. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
I'm happy that we're able to do this. You know, you've been behind the scenes in a lot of moments of even my business, right? And how it's today been flourishing to be able to go cross country and just help so many people's lives. And you, my friend, have been a gateway to many people, right? To reaching many people. And your testimony, I mean, I can just name multiple and many people that you have inspired and you've impacted, right? Allison being one of them, right? She was able to hear about you and everything that you achieved, and that motivated her and inspired her to reach out, to connect with me. And her life is now impacted and changed because of your testimony, right? Because of what you've done. And I really want to just take a moment to just let you know, like, even the impact that you've had on my life, right? Because had it not been that we started working together, and you were one of the critical students that really got me to my center. And what do I mean by that? I had been coaching multiple people, right? But you were in a state of life that I had never confronted before, right? You were in a position in your life that literally, and you'll be able to share that more in depth, but it was life or death, right? It was like my last chance of hope. And I took that very personally. And as I worked with you, it really opened my eyes, and it impacted me in such a personal level that what I do is so much bigger than me. What I do is so much more than just making somebody fit into a different size of clothes, right? Or become thinner. No, there was so much that I really hadn't wrapped my head around. So you were the person that really impacted me in my life to really pursue and take the business to that next level. So I just really want to thank you. And I want you to know that you are very special to me, as you are to a lot of people out there. But I'm happy that you could join me today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's a tremendous blessing to me to just be a part of everything that you're doing. It's exciting to me that my story can help inspire or touch others, even though I'm still in the middle of my own process.
Yeah.
And you quite literally changed my life. And I feel the very same way about you. You're very special to me as well.
Thank you. So much
Um,
so that, we almost, through the outside world, right? It's a mother and son relationship, very similar in that way. And call you mama when we're in our intimate space, and you call me son, because it's become that commitment, right? That I've, not knowing you, committed to you and told you I would never give up on you. And in that, right, the relationship that was developed has just flourished into something very beautiful, and something that I have the privilege of just pursuing, and continuing to progress in that each day. But that's really why I wanted to bring you on, because even though you've gone through this journey, right, and we've been at it for 3 years, amazing transformation, amazing results, right, released a lot of weight,
yeah.
learned a lot, grown a lot, right? Have achieved so much. It's not enough for you. And that's one of the things that I'm really passionate about when I talk to you, is just that hunger and that drive to, like, I want to keep learning. I want to keep growing. I don't want to stop here. Yeah, I've released this. Yeah, I'm able to lift this amount of weight. Yeah, I've done this, I've done that, but like, I want more, right? So that hunger and that passion, and you sharing what you shared with me at First Leaps to Better Health was very powerful, because that is proof of what can happen when you continue to press in, right? When you continue to pursue this lifestyle that you want. So for those that don't know you, and even those that do know you, because many people, they hear it through others, right? How your story is and how your process has been. But I'd really like for you to share with us how that journey has been, and what it was like. How was your life before? How did we connect? How did that journey start for you? So that people can just start to relate a little bit better with your story.
Okay. Well, um, when I first met David, I had been extremely overweight and obese for a very, very long time. For me, that started in my teenage years. Um, I had been through a lot of childhood trauma, and as some of the other broadcasts have discussed, that impact and how that can affect someone's weight. Well, that's exactly what it did for me. I
Yeah.
went to food to deal with my emotions and the things that I was going through, and it started at a young age. Um, and so by the time I met David, it had been that way for decades.
Hmm.
I'd tried different things. I'd tried different diets, different approaches. I would lose some of the weight and then gain it all back plus more.
Yeah.
Lose it again, gain it all back plus more, over and over and over again. In fact, it had happened so many times with such horrible outcomes that by the time I met David, I was afraid to try again. I was
Yeah.
in a place in my life then where I had such tremendous back pain that it was difficult to stand for more than 1 or 2 minutes,
Wow.
difficult to walk. Getting up and down from a chair was a struggle.
Hmm.
It was just bad. And there was a lot of pain. There was pain in my knees. There was pain in my back. It was hard to get around. It was becoming hard to function. And while I was recognizing that things are getting bad, I really need to do something. At the same time, I was afraid. I was
Yeah.
afraid to try and fail again, because I
Of
thought,
course.
if I try and fail one more time and gain it all back plus more, I could end up permanently disabled and unable to move. I could end up in a wheelchair. I could end up, I was already headed to dying young, just because of all the health issues that come with being obese
Yeah.
for a long period of time.
Right.
And so, on the one hand, um, I I was feeling alarmed, like I've got to do something. But on the other hand, I was like, I can't go through this cycle again.
Yeah.
And so a friend of mine was working with David and had lost a lot of weight. And she was looking good. And she kept telling me over and over, you got to sit down, talk to David. You got to sit down, talk to David. And um, and I knew him. I'd seen him, around, and and I'd say hi, and we knew each other. But she was pushing and pushing and pushing, and eventually I finally decided to make an appointment and sit down and talk to David, honestly, just so she would shut up.
How many of you
But
can relate? I think we've all been in that scenario. We've had that person nagging, okay, just to shut you up. I'll do it. That's hilarious.
but it ended up being life-changing for me. That very first meeting, as we just started to discuss what had been going on with my life and with my health. And, one of the things that David asked me right at the very beginning was, what are you willing to do? And how serious are you? And I was actually in a place of being desperate, but still a little bit afraid to try again.
Of course.
But he just gave me a lot of hope that he knew how to help me, and that if I would trust him, that he would walk with me through the process, and that this could really work this time. And so I did. I started working with him one-on-one, and actually changes started happening very quickly. The weight started to come off. I was working out every day.
Yeah,
and it wasn't well, at first, I gotta tell you, the workouts were somewhere between, this is exciting, I can do this, and this is horrible, I absolutely hate this.
Well, I mean, it's just like anything that we venture out in, right? If we've not done it, and we're pursuing a change, we're pursuing a new life. Look, there's that excitement there, but everything is going to suck, right? Everything is going to seem dreadful. We could be 5 minutes into it and we're going to be like, when is this ending? Can it just stop right now? Right. But in that, it's really about knowing that if we pursue it, something can happen.
And that's what happened. As I just continued to do what I needed to do, I hate this started to become, this isn't so horrible.
Yeah.
And kind of progressed to, okay, maybe I don't completely hate this. And, as I just kept going, I got to the place where I liked it. And I like working out now, and I miss it when I don't. I just recently got back from a ministry trip where for over a week I couldn't work out. There was just nothing available. And so when I got back, it was exciting because I actually miss it now. That's great. I actually enjoy how it feels to move and to use my muscles and to know that I'm getting stronger. It's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
What were some of the initial changes that you really started to recognize about you, the person, right? Because I think a lot of the work when we're really in process or in journey or wanting to release weight and wanting to change the way we look, a lot of times we focus just on the exterior, right? Well, are my pants fitting bigger? Is my shirt fitting bigger, right? Am I getting thinner? But I think some of the things that we miss, or that we don't really start to pay significant attention or give attention to, is what starts to happen with you, or with us, me, the person, right? Mentally, right? Even in terms of how I view myself, how I think about myself, how I speak to myself, certain beliefs, right? What were some of those things that you started to recognize about yourself that maybe, one, were just completely out of place, right? That you had started to get insight about, and then two, that you really recognize started to change?
Yes, there was a lot of that, because at the beginning of the process, I hated how I looked. I was disgusted with myself. I blamed myself for being that way and for failing over and over and over again every time I tried to change it. And I had to learn to change my perspective on the whole thing and to change the way that I thought about myself, change the way that I thought about the process. I had to change my mind and my attitudes about a lot of things during that process, and it changed kind of slowly over time. As we dig into the mindset side of the process more, one of the things that used to just irritate me at the beginning was because I'm a goal-oriented person. So it's like, I want to get to a certain weight and that's my goal and I want to get there. And David kept telling me, you got to learn to enjoy the process.
Yeah.
And while that was happening, I mean, I was learning to enjoy the process more and more and more, but I was still very goal focused. And so it took a lot of work for me. Sometimes when he would tell me, you got to learn to enjoy the process, I want to smack the words right out of his mouth. But But as I kept working on my thinking and my attitudes, that began to change. And I can honestly say that now I do enjoy the process. There are still some times when I get a little irritated with it.
Yeah, of course.
But I think that's normal. You just come back into focus and keep moving forward. It's like, it's okay to have those goals, like those long-term goals. It's okay that I have a certain number and I want to get there.
Of course.
But one of the things that I kind of recently got a hold of here in the last couple of months was there might be a certain clothing size I want to get to.
Yeah.
But if I just focus on how far away I am, because I'm still in the middle of my own process, if I focus on how far away I am from that size right now, I can get frustrated or discouraged.
Absolutely.
So one of the things David showed me was, instead of looking at that number, like that's the only time it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Right now I'm looking at a closer number.
Absolutely.
For example, I'll just be flatly honest with you here. When I started this process, I was wearing a size 30, 32. That's big. And my goal at the end is to fit into a size 10. And if I get there, that number might even go down a little more than that. But
yeah, why not?
Right now, I'm at a 20, which is a huge improvement.
Absolutely.
But it's still a long way from a 10.
Yeah, but you're halfway there, right?
Yeah, I'm halfway there, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
But the way that I'm starting to look at it now is, okay, instead of saying 10 is still a long ways away, I'm looking at it, okay, I think I could get to a 14 here in the next few months.
Yeah.
Pretty easily if I just keep moving forward in my process. And when I get there, then I'll look at a 12. Yeah. And then by the time I'm looking at the 10, I'm going to be really close to it. And that's part of the process of changing the way that I'm thinking. That long-term goal is good. But the short-term goals along the way, I guess David calls that celebrating the wins along the way. Every time I reach a short-term goal on the way to the long-term goals, that's a big deal. And it's okay to celebrate those things. Yeah. In fact, that's one of the things that helps keeps me going and keeps reminding me that I'm still making progress. I'm going to get there. If I don't quit, I will get there. Yeah. And it's not that I ever want to quit, because I don't.
No, well, because really, look, let's kind of, I have a couple things I want to touch on, but in that point, what are we really crafting here? What are we doing? Is the objective only to release weight? Is the objective only to get to a size 10? Is the objective to look better in the mirror? No, the objective here is to change our lifestyle. When we are now in the state that we've changed our lifestyle, what does that mean? Look, we hear it now everywhere. I've been talking about this for the past 15 years. The importance of looking at health, not as a number, right, in terms of weight, or not as a figure in terms of your body. It is in terms of a life. Why? Because health is what drives all of those things. It drives your life. It drives the way you think, the way you feel, how you process things, your memory, how you function, your performance level, right? How the things you're able to do. It impacts everything about our life. So therefore, it's not just a weight. It's not just a number. It's your life, changing your life to become healthy, right? So the objective is that lifestyle piece. So with you, because you've tasted so much good in this journey, it's impossible to quit now.
Yeah.
Right? Because why? Because I've gone through this process so deep into it. My life has changed so much. Right. And I want to touch on some of those things what were some of those things that really changed? I'd like to tap into, like, what were some of your limiting beliefs before, and then what they have now, what you've learned from that, what they are now. But really is because we've been able to change that life. Right? You've been able to change how you view food, the food choices, right? You've been able to change your habits. You've been able to change the way you do things. You've become more active. You're not sedentary like you were before, right? You've been able to work on yourself in terms of getting stability in your emotions. So you're no longer triggered to go to the habits, old habits, right? That cause you to stay overweight or to gain more weight, emotional eating, stress eating, right? Overeating, binge eating, overindulging, right? Using food for the wrong instruments or for the wrong things, or doing things, right? Doing things that were leading us to a life of pain, a life of frustration, of anger, of failure, right? Because we've now focused on changing your lifestyle, going back, quitting, right? Becoming obese again, right? Like living that old life. No, it's impossible. It's nearly impossible. And I say nearly because the only way it can happen is if you literally decide to quit and go, your choice is now to go back to your old habits, right? But that's not the case. So I think that's a great point that we bring up, and really just driving that, because I am a firm believer. It's not about focusing on dropping that number. It's focusing on changing your lifestyle, focusing, on changing the things that are causing you to stay stuck in this life. It's not looking for simple things that will cause me to get a result, but let's change you, the person that is driving those results, so that in you, as we're changing you, the results change on their own. The things happen on your own, right? The weight comes off on your own. Your activity level changes. Your habits change. Your mindset changes. The way you see yourself, the way you think about yourself, the way you talk to yourself, all of that is impacted. Why? Because you work on yourself. Right?
Yes.
So what were some of those limiting beliefs that you had before as we started your process? What were some of the challenges? I guess it's a two-part question here. What were some of those limiting beliefs, and what were some of those challenges that you really had to confront and maybe even check yourself to say, no, come on. This has to change. Could you share?
Well, the two main limiting beliefs that I've struggled with all my life were number one, because I was diagnosed with learning disabilities as a child and struggled tremendously in school. I ended up with the mindset that I was stupid. I mean, that was ingrained from the time I received that diagnosis at 9 years old.
Wow.
And for me, as a little child, the proof that that was true was every day when I went to school, and the other kids could learn this stuff and I couldn't. I graduated from high school unable to read because of that.
Wow.
And so it carried on into my adult life. Even though as a child, my parents tried to tell me, you're not stupid. I thought I was retarded.
Yeah.
They would tell me that I knew from a young age, technically, that that dyslexia, most people with dyslexia are of above average intelligence. But I just saw my performance in school as complete failure. And so I didn't believe them.
Yeah.
I thought they were just trying to make me feel better by lying to me.
Right.
And so I went into my adult life, and even as I grew older and began to, I learned how to read in my 20s and went back to school in my 40s. I graduated with my college degree with a 4.0 average for practically killing myself to get it. I won't do that again.
That's amazing.
But I learned that that wasn't true. But yet, when things would happen in my life, my automatic response went back to those childhood ingrained beliefs, which produced those childhood ingrained behaviors, the things I didn't want, the things I was trying to change.
Right.
And so I had to come against the beliefs and the self-talk. The minute that something happened, or I was going over something for the 12th time, trying to learn it, and my mind would say, you idiot. I had to stop. I had to grab hold of that, and I had to change the self-talk. It was part of the process, because those things were so connected to the eating behaviors that I was trying to change. That
Please tell me more about that. Tell us more about that. How did those limiting beliefs also impact your food choices and like how you treated yourself?
Oh, okay. Yes, because I thought of myself in those terms, and that whole, there was the you're stupid one, and then you're a failure that kind of came out of that. And also because I had tried and failed to lose weight my whole life. Those were the two main things. But the eating behaviors, one of the things David teaches is to look for that root cause, that where did this behavior start? How did you learn it? Well, we learned early on that that our current behaviors are attached to something that's rooted somewhere else most of the time. If not all the time, probably all the time.
Yeah, I say all the time too. But for the sake of some, we have to say mostly.
So it's just a huge part of the process is to just take an inward look and start analyzing those things and say, where did this start? And for me, that was easy because I work in the field of inner healing. I've been through tremendous inner healing myself for all of the traumas of my past and my childhood. And now I help other people do that. So looking back, it was like the root cause. I know right where that is. But the thing that was a surprise to me, because I had walked through so much healing for that stuff, was that just because we've dealt with the things that have happened to us as far as healing our heart, the behaviors that are now kind of an automatic response to those things, those don't automatically change because you're looking at it, because you're dealing with it, because you're getting it healed. The behaviors and the mindset piece is a whole other thing that has to happen in addition.
That's right.
I think both of those are vitally important. And since I've been through so much of the healing part, now I'm working on the mindset part and learning just how important that is. Because for me, this is the big thing that is making all the change for me now, because all the inner healing happened before I even started this process with David. So so learning to look at it, learning to recognize when something happens in my life that triggers that old emotional reaction, That behavior of going to food is directly connected to that emotional trigger.
That's right.
And so just learning to recognize it and then learning to interrupt it and catch it and say, wait a minute. This is the biggest part of the process for me right now. And it's making a huge impact for me right now, because I believe that anybody can learn what they need to do with their nutrition, what they need to do in the gym. David is awesome at that. There's a lot of other personal trainers out there that are awesome at that too. This mindset piece is the unique part that changes everything, because I had tried and failed, success, and then gain it all back plus more so many times. It's like, this is the missing piece. This is the important thing that everybody else out there isn't dealing with. They aren't teaching this. And it's the one that makes all the difference. Because until we change what's going on up here, we can do all the right things, but it's not sustainable for the rest of your life. There's always going to be, or else you're going to be like trying to force yourself to just do it for the rest of your life. And that's really not sustainable. And nobody wants to live there. But as we change the way we think about it, then the behavior starts to change and follow automatically. It's like those ingrained behaviors are there for a reason. And once we learn how that works and how we can make a shift and learn how to change this behavior to something different. Now, when the triggers of life, because life is life and that's going to keep happening. There's always going to be stuff out there that triggers your stuff.
That's right.
But until we learn how to change and begin to make a new choice, and it's about learning how to replace the old pattern with a new one.
That's right.
And if we do that long enough, the new one becomes the automatic response, and just like the old one maybe is now. And so that's the place we want to get to. But it takes all of this mindset stuff, analyzing it, figuring out how you got there, figuring out what happens when it gets triggered, figuring out what am I going to do instead, and then just doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it until that becomes the new pattern. Then when life happens, you're automatically going to go to the new thing. And it's not that constant battle that anybody who's ever struggled with stress eating, emotional eating, binge eating, any of that stuff, you know the battle. You know the shame as you're, well, let me use me for an example. There was tremendous shame when I was stuffing crap in my mouth, and I hated it while I was doing it, but couldn't stop. And I hated myself for doing it, but couldn't stop. And then I just felt worse about myself when it was all over. And there's that whole failure cycle all over again. So this is the thing, this is the process that's able to change all of that. And one of the main things that I really struggled with for a long time in this process was the idea that it's okay to be kind to yourself, even if you blow it. That was hard for me.
Please.
That was very hard.
I remember. And really just to kind of summarize what you were sharing, because you hit on a lot of really important points and a lot of the things that we've been talking about in the last episodes, right? And that I consistently drive home, because it's my belief and it's my heart cry for people to really understand the depths and the profoundness of what psychologically keeps us tied to that old life, right? And when I say that old life, in that is encumbrance with all of our habits, right? The things that we do, how we think, how we feel, how we believe, how we speak, and how we perform, the actions that we take. And when we aren't happy with the life that we're living, there are behaviors, like you mentioned, there are patterns, there are action things that we're doing that are leading us to this specific life. And what, when we're talking about like your old behaviors, was going to food, right? To deal with
Yeah.
your emotions, going to food to what? To even inflict pain to a certain sense, because you feel like a failure, you feel like nobody loves you, you feel misunderstood. So therefore, if I can't do it, nothing is changing it, screw it. So that means I'm worthless, that means I'm not good enough, so therefore why even try? Poof, let's go to what I do know to do. And that is, in a sense, self-affliction, right? Using food as self-affliction. And those behaviors, right, these patterns that she's talking about of going to food to deal with that are super important, that as we go through the specific process, the process that I've taken you through, and that Allison and many of my students, which I've titled that process to be the food behavior quadrant, really breaking down the missing piece that
Yeah.
is essential and vital for this process that you're on to become a lifestyle, to
Yes.
now be able to shift it and say, okay, I will no longer have an unhealthy relationship with food. I will no longer have to worry about making unhealthy food choices, right? I will never cope with food. I will not. And understanding how to now live a life that you want, doing new behavior patterns, meaning I'm releasing my emotions in a different way. I'm viewing myself and I'm not punishing myself. I'm now being kind to myself instead, knowing that it's not about perfection. It's about learning to go through this process, and that it's okay to mess up, right? It's okay to make a wrong choice, but learn from it and be able to get back on track and pursue this lifestyle, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
First steps, first leap, first leap to better health happened about 2 weeks ago. And it was my first 2-day conference that we had been, remember when we first started talking about it years ago, back in 2019, I had this vision and this idea that I wanted to do these conferences, that I can travel and go to different states and just share insight and wisdom and just give people the information that they need to just help them put an end to unhealthy eating habits, to teach them how to master their eating habits and put an end to emotional eating, stress eating. And we went on and on and on and talked about it. And
Yeah.
it finally came together, right? And it was an amazing 2 days. Many people that showed up were just impacted by the information, but something very specific happened to you. I remember through our journey, there was a lot of shame, right? There was a lot of self-judgment because of the things that you had experienced in your past, but also because of the choices you were making that were afflicting you, causing pain on you, that you were just not happy with. And something happened that day for you.
Yeah.
I'd like for you to kind of just share what that experience was like, what all happened, and just kind of give us your side of things.
Okay. Well, yeah. I had heard everything that you taught at the conference was stuff that I had heard over and over. I was working on it.
Yeah.
But something just struck me that day during the conference when you said it again, and you were talking about looking for that root cause, looking for that place. And I know that you had told me this over and over again before that day, but when you were talking about it that day, and you were saying how the root cause was most often something back in our childhood, more often than not. Certainly it was for me. And you said, I don't know if you just said it differently, but you said it wasn't your fault. You were just a little child. And it finally got through. It finally hit me. And in just a moment of time, it's like, oh my goodness, I was a little girl when those things happened. I was a little girl when this behavior pattern started. And it started because things were emotionally overwhelming that I couldn't control. I couldn't control the things that were happening in my life back then.
Right.
And going to food for comfort is just a little girl's way of dealing with overwhelming stuff that she couldn't do anything about. And just for the first time, it really hit me. Oh my goodness, this really wasn't your fault. You were just a little girl dealing with stuff you didn't know how to deal with. Yeah. And just in a moment of time, just the way that hit that day, it lifted this huge burden of shame. It just felt like a massive weight coming off of my shoulders. And I don't know how else to explain it. It was almost something I physically felt lift up and go that day. And it was just like I was just sitting there going, and all of the pressure left. All of the pressure that I have to make myself do this and do it right, get it right. It just left. And that freed me to a place where, okay, now as I'm working on my process, because all that pressure that I was putting on myself about, first of all, with the shame, every time I'd make a little mistake, shame, condemnation, guilt, it was horrible. And then the pressure, you got to do it. You got to do it right. You got to do it perfect. If it's not perfect, it's not acceptable.
Yeah.
That's how I was raised. And so when that burden lifted, and I realized I don't have to do it perfect to be successful. It just changed my whole perspective. It changed everything. And when the weight lifted, it suddenly felt like, okay, I feel like I can do it now. Because I was carrying such a load, it was just adding to the stress that was already trying to push me towards food. Yeah. And so when the burden kind of lifted, it's like that part of that big push towards food as a comfort, it was just gone. Not that I don't still have to deal with it a little bit, but the weight of it, it was a tremendous change, and it happened in a moment's time, just as that the truth finally penetrated my brain. Yeah. It was great. I love it.
You know, I get emotional when I hear that, because that's the reason why I do this, right? For those moments right there. For those moments of life that just can be bringing so much pain and just so much devastation and just keeping you trapped and just bringing so much anger against yourself and just judgment and self-criticism and just shame and guilt and condemnation that is just keeping us to view ourselves terrible and disgusted and just blame ourselves. Critical self is screaming at you, right? That is why you're the problem, right? But when we finally understand that a lot of the things that we've been doing in our life, the habits that we've had, we have learned them. We have learned them from somebody at a young age, that they've been taught to us. They've been handed over to us. We are learning from everything around us. When we can grasp this, such powerful and profound information, knowing that it's not your fault that you are stuck maybe today in the behavior pattern that you're in, whether it's dealing with your emotions with food, whether it's being angry all the time when something happens, or being stressed out and dealing with the stress in a specific way that is unhealthy. You learn that. And when we understand that, we now are able to shut down this critical self that is yapping, telling you suck, you're stupid, it's because of you, it's because why can't you stop? It's okay. We literally are able to punch it, kick it out, and say, no, stop.
Yeah.
This is why. Now there's an answer to it. Relief comes. Shame is taken off of us. in the same way Allison has expressed it before through her process. And I remember there was a certain moment that you asked, like, why is she able to, why is this happening to her? And I can't feel that, right? And it was like, when it does finally click for us, we're able to experience that. And it's like, oh my gosh, I get it. Then now all we can do is focus on, wow, okay, now what is it? Now I can change that. That's the beauty of this. We can change everything that we have learned to do that today we are not happy with or we don't like in terms of our habits.
Yes, yes. And it's more than, and we can apply this in every area, not just
100%.
food.
Yes.
I'm totally using this stuff. I mean, I was using some of it before in what I do, but now I'm using all of it because I can apply it. You can apply it in any area.
You apply it to anger, right? To emotions. You apply it to feelings. You apply it to how you think and how you view others. And you apply it in your workspace, in your relationships, in your husband and wife, in your marriage, right? In your kids. For crying out loud, Allison is using this with her kids.
Yeah.
And I can't wait till we finally get to that stage. There's just so much to share, and have her share that story as well. And I'd like to continue to touch on some of those things with you, because there's also a lot with you, right? There's a lot in your journey. And for many of those that don't know, like, when we met, where were you? Like, how much were you weighing? Where were you in your physical ability? I know you said some of that, and share a little bit of that. And then, what we were able to accomplish or still accomplishing.
My heaviest weight was right when we started, and I was 286 pounds.
Yeah.
And it was hard to walk. It was hard to move. I was in pain all the time. If I was standing up, like at church, people stand up during praise and worship, I couldn't. I didn't even try to stand up anymore. I just stayed in my seat. I hated that.
Yeah.
It was hard to do. I couldn't do the things that I liked. I couldn't go. I work with youth at my church. I couldn't go to the amusement park with them because I couldn't stand up and walk around. I garden. I'm a permaculturist, and I have an edible food forest and gardens at my house. I couldn't work outside. I couldn't work in the garden. During that time, things were starting to get overgrown. I had weeds that were 6 feet high.
Wow.
That because I couldn't get outside and deal with them anymore. And so I literally consider this process that I'm going through has totally, it has saved my life. It's given me my life back. I can get outside and work in the yard again. I recently went to an amusement park with the youth on our mission trip, and it wasn't amazing. Necessarily fun walking around for 14 hours, but I did it.
But
and
you
it was
did
fun.
It, right?
I had fun.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to do that. I would have been in a wheelchair. To even participate before. So in my process, I've lost nearly 100 pounds. I have about 60 more to go. And I know that I'll get there now.
Absolutely. With no question, no doubt about it. You got your life back and are building a better life for yourself. And not only that, but are able to impact so many people along the way. Right. And not only this, that many people don't even know, through this journey, she's overcome breast cancer that happened right in the middle of her process. She had to stop her process because of years of neglecting her body and just being obese. She literally destroyed the cartilage in her knees and needed not one, but 2 reconstructive knee surgeries. And she had to get those done. Remember back in November of 2021, we my family is out in Texas, and she came out, and we found an amazing doctor out there that we were able to build a relationship with, and she got both of her knee replacements done in a span of 3 months, 4
Yeah.
months, and has overcame that and has continued her process through that, gotten stronger, got her knees done, and so many hiccups along the way. Life, right? Like you talked about, life goes on, life comes at you. But when we pursue this as a lifestyle change that we're pursuing in pursuit of it, look, we keep going. This train don't stop. There might be a little bit of things that might stall you. They might slow you down, but we keep going. And I mean, I'm just very
that was an extremely irritating interruption of my process.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have made it through without your help through that. I'm so appreciative of that. But I'm still going, and I'm going to get there.
You sure are. And I'm going to be there right by your side, walking you through it. And you are an incredible woman. Thank you for just being that example for others and inspiring others. Yes.
You're going to make that jump. My goal, or one of my goals, one of my long-term goals,
share it.
when I get to my goal weight, is to go skydiving.
For anybody that knows me, anybody that knows me knows that I am terrified of skydiving. And I said I would never do it. But because I firmly want to celebrate with you and know what this means to you, right? You've confronted and been confronting your fear, right? Your fear is through this process. If you get there, I'm still holding my end to it. We will skydive and jump out of that plane. So I'm not looking forward to it for that reason, but I'm looking forward to it for your reason to get there and accomplish that for your life, because you definitely deserve it. So
it'll be fun. Even if I have to push
you. You probably will. But we'll discuss that when we get there. Cynthia, thank you so much, Mom. I appreciate you coming out and just sharing a bit of your journey, because I know it's going to impact many, and looking forward to having you again on another episode here, and just continuing to shine light on your process and just really bring hope, right? I think you have gotten to know my heart more than many have. And, that's one of my biggest hearts, my heart cries, to really just inspire and bring hope to people, and just know that they're not alone. And it doesn't matter what age they're in, they can live healthy and craft the life that they desire. Right. So thanks for being proof of that, and for continuing your own journey. And I look forward, as the audience does now, to see everything that you accomplish.
Well, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
All righty. We'll talk to you soon. Have a blessed night. Take care.
Good night.
All right. Bye-bye. Well, my friends, there we have it. Another amazing episode. Look, I just love this woman. She's definitely one that has inspired, like I said, many. And I don't get tired of saying that, because many people are just inspired by what she's able to achieve. And look, in the same way she did it, you can do it too. And I want you to know that this process isn't limited, or doesn't only work for a select type of person, or for a specific kind of person, right? It can help anyone, and it's there to impact anyone and to change anybody's life. And that life is also you. That life also includes you. And I want you to know that in the same way Cynthia has done it and is still doing it, you can do it too. There is nothing stopping you but you. There is nothing that can get in the way but you. And there is nothing that is impossible unless you believe it, right? So as I close today, my final thoughts, I just want you to know that you have everything you need inside of you. a lot of times all we need is just somebody on our side that'll encourage us, that can say, you got this. Come on, let's do it. There've been many people in my life that have been that example, that have gone alongside with me through many of my journeys and still do today. Many mentors that I still have that are walking this life with me, guiding me in my own personal journey of discovery, right? Because it's a process of discovery. And the beautiful thing of that is that when you commit to the process, you might be amazed at what you discover. You might be amazed of what you discover is inside of you. And who you discover you can become. It's fascinating. So I just want you to know that you're not alone. And you have somebody here that is here to support you, to encourage you, to serve you, and to assist you in any way that I can, so that you can start living the life that you desire. Look, if we haven't already connected, I'd love to connect with you. Shoot me a message if you'd like on all social media platforms. Let's just connect. If we haven't connected, let's connect through social media. You can connect with me on every social platform on my handle at Dave K. Hernandez, at Dave K. Hernandez. Let's connect. And if you have any questions about what I've done in Cynthia's journey and how I've helped Allison and helped Andrew and helped so many of my other students, look, shoot me an email. I'd love to have a conversation with you. If you have any specific questions, I'd love to answer those questions. You can send me an email to listennotdefeated@gmail.com, listennotdefeated@gmail.com. Or if you want to have a conversation and see how I can support you, how I can serve you. Maybe you have specific questions that you're stuck with, and maybe I probably might have the answers for you, right? I'd love to have that connection with you, and I'd love to have that conversation. If you would like to have a conversation and just look at things a bit more intimately, look, go to my website, www.davidhernandez.co, davidhernandez.co, and there you can book a call with me. No strings attached, just conversation, so we can get to know each other and see how I can support you. Okay.
And that's the end of today's episode. What a fantastic episode. I love this woman because she's been through so much, but more importantly, because she has not quit. She's been resilient. She's been pliable like clay, right? To be able to be molded. Even though she's had her challenges, she stuck through it and has seen some incredible results. And the takeaway here is for you to know that you can do it too, right? 61-year-old woman who had battled so many impossibles, had just been challenged with her life, over close to 300 pounds, not being able to stand for more than 2 minutes, not being able to walk for, a certain amount of steps without having to stop. She was on the verge of being in a wheelchair, but she chose herself. She chose to give it one more shot. And look, I don't know where you're at today. I don't know how many attempts you've had at your health and fitness journey. I don't know how many attempts you've had at your weight loss journey. I don't know what you've tried. I don't know how many times you've failed. But what I do know is that it's irrelevant. Because when we understand that our life has value and it is worth fighting for, because look, your health is bigger than you. What do I mean by that? Everything about your health impacts more than just yourself. It impacts your job, it impacts your finances, it impacts your kids, it impacts your partner if you're married, it impacts your relationships, your environment, it impacts everything. Why? Because without your health, you can't achieve. But more importantly, when your health is suffering, everything around you also suffers. And the most important thing here is that you should not be living life simply to get by and living with difficulties, with pains due to becoming overweight and health complications. So I really want to invite you. In the same way Cynthia did it, look, I want to support you. Allow me to be of service for you. Allow me to support you and allow me to see how I can support you through your journey. Because I do know that with what I have and what I've been able to share with Cynthia and with Allison and with many of my other students, they've seen incredible results and they've transformed their life forever. And I want to invite that for you as well. So let's connect. If you haven't already connected with me, look, let's connect. Even if it's just on social media, you can reach me there down below on my handle at Dave K. Hernandez, at Dave K. Hernandez. Let's connect on social media. But also, I'd like to have maybe a conversation with you. If you've been struggling, you've been stuck, you're dealing with stress eating, emotional eating, and just are dealing with a lot of complications, I'd love to chat. And let me see how I can support you. Right? If that's you, I want to invite you to go to my website, www.davidhernandez.co, davidhernandez.co. Information is there down below. And let's go ahead and just book a conversation there with me so we can connect and just see what I can do to support you, okay? And if you have any specific questions about what Cynthia went through, what her process was like, go ahead and shoot me an email. Even if you have questions about your own health journey, you can send that email to listennotdefeated@gmail.com, listennotdefeated@gmail.com. And also, if you'd like to connect with Cynthia and you have a conversation with her to learn more about her journey, look, her information is down in the show notes. Go ahead and shoot her a message. She's an amazing woman who is just wanting to also share this information to help others just like you. So if you haven't already subscribed, click the subscribe button to my channel, click the little bell so you get all the notifications of my up and coming episodes. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast station, click the follow button so you don't miss an episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Look, I love being here for you and knowing that you are here to gain insight. And I just want you to know that whatever you are needing, please, if I can support and I can serve you, allow me to. It's a blessing, it's a gifting for me, and I want to make sure I do that for you. So thank you so much for tuning in. This is Listen, You're Not Defeated, and I'm your host, David Hernandez. Go out, crush it, live your best life, and remember, you are incredible and you're not defeated. I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.